Very glad to know that you are still there with us, just as we are here for you. Yes, you're still on the KAFTAN television this beautiful sunny morning in the nation's capital, Abuja. And I'm Mikki Attah, and the program is still The Press this beautiful morning. All right. Sorry it was such a long break, but here we are, raving to go. And like I assured you, my guest was in the building, and the guest is not only in the building, but also in the studio live this morning. It is not very easy to take a serving commissioner of INEC with a whole lot of oncoming elections, by-elections right at the tip of the corner, but he has gladly agreed to be here with us. So here we have Mr. Mohammed Haruna. Let me allow him to say hello to you by himself, and then I'll tell you one or two things about who our guest really is. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello. Glad to be here.
Glad that you could make it. You're very, very welcome. Okay, Mr. Mohammed Haruna is a National Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. He is also a media guru. He has at various times lectured in mass communication. In addition, he was the editor, started from maybe a reporter up onto the managing director of the New Nigerian in Kaduna before moving to Lagos. He's also authored and published a weekly magazine. He at one time was the chief press secretary to one of Nigeria's heads of state, talking about General Abdulsalami Abubakar. Currently, he's serving his second term as a National Commissioner of the Independent National Commission. Right. If you're a regular viewer, you would have noticed throughout the week, no matter the topic we bring in, we have people calling in, we have guests saying how they want INEC to be participating, to actually be the ones in charge of local government elections. Now, the clamor seems to be, let INEC not only handle presidential, senatorial, governorship, and the rest, let them also handle local government elections. Because the trend so far has been, if an APC governor is at the head, APC sweeps the local government polls. If the PDP governor is at the head, or PDP sweeps the polls. And that isn't humanly possible. All of us cannot agree on the same thing in the same locality. So that's the sweeping call for INEC. But currently, INEC is mandated to carry out local government elections even at the Federal Capital Territory, talking about Abuja. So I'm going to pick his mind, and he's going to tell you what is in place now, and why there's a little bit of controversy about the current tenure of the current local government council chairman. So over to you. Let's know how it's been handling that of Abuja, and why that little controversy over tenure.
Well, the controversy, good morning once again, arose because of, should I say, conflict. You know, the current local governments won their elections on the basis of the old electoral law. That is electoral law of 2010.
Right. Which
says 3 years tenure. But then what is important is when you are sworn in, not when you won the election. And the current administration, all the 6 local area councils, we call them in FCT, they were sworn in under the new law, which is electoral law 2022.
Right.
And that gives 4 years. And so the counting starts from the day you are sworn in.
Right.
So that's why, there was that controversy, but we clarified things. And I think even those who are putting pressure and saying issue, schedule, and timetable of activities, they came to understand that the law is the law and you have to obey the law.
Right.
Yeah.
So that just clarifies it, that the time of counting starts from your day of swearing in. So even though the elections themselves took place under the old law, from the moment they were sworn in, President Muhammadu Buhari, our immediate past president, had already signed the bill into law. So their tenure is actually going to be 4-year, as is going to be ongoing. Am I right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So Nigerians now want you to handle that of the whole nation. Everybody is like, look, what we have now for local government elections is far from satisfactory.
I think far from satisfactory is an understatement. You know, as you said, the ruling party at the state level always wins all the and that can be correct.
Oh no!
So and it's nothing new. If you remember, long before the Abdul Salam transition,
right?
You know, the INEC had always conducted even the local government elections.
Right.
It was the 1999 Constitution that created state electoral commissions.
Right.
So if you want to change now it's a constitutional matter. You have to amend the Constitution, and you know it's not easy to amend the Constitution, but it's not impossible to even make the local government, the state CX, that is electoral commissions. It's not impossible to make them work. You know.
So give us a little formula, a little scoop on how we can. Can I not supervise them?
No, well, they are just as independent as we are.
Okay.
They are a creature of the Constitution. Right. Therefore, there is nothing anybody can do about that beyond, you know, amending the Constitution.
Right.
But the thing is that even the 2022 electoral law, you know, said, and that's why, you know, they were all scampering to conduct the elections, said any local government election has to be based on the basis of the electoral law 88.
Right.
And the electoral law, you know, it has various stages. You publish schedule, timetable and schedule of activities. Parties conduct primaries. They submit the names of their candidates, you know, before we conduct the election. Now, you will find that, of course, with the local government elections, none of this happens. But the electoral law, the new electoral law, and where there is a conflict between a state law and the federal law, of course, the federal law supersedes. And the electoral law says all local government elections should be conducted on the basis of that electoral law 2022. Right. But of course, hardly any of them has. Even the elections that they all rushed to conduct of recent, they hardly satisfied
those
conditions.
So
the first condition is to publish in the law, in the electoral law 2022, is to publish the timetable. And 360 days before the day of election, none of them did that.
No.
In fact, some of them, you know, they appoint the commission today, tomorrow they are conducting elections. So clearly there is a problem.
Right, and it can only be amended by the Constitution.
Yeah.
Wow, we're in a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
Well, you have, in today's Nigerian Tribune, let me just read it verbatim. It says, backlash, big INEC budgets, and unending cycles of electoral failures. Whoa. He's saying that, one, your budget is too big, and two, the electoral cycles seem very dissatisfactory to, at least to the people in the Nigerian Tribune.
Well, you know, unfortunately, facts, even when facts speak clearly, oftentimes is what people have already made up their minds to believe. The basis of people saying electoral failures has been only this, the glitch, if you all remember, that the presidential, the last general election, the 2023 general election, everything went on smoothly except for that presidential election where there was a glitch of some hours. But of course, because you know, presidential election, every election is very important, but of course, in particular, the presidential election, people made up their mind and said, the whole election was a flop. But people considered that because we conduct elections at two levels, the national level and the state level. For the national level, the presidential and the National Assembly, that is the Senate, the two chambers, the Senate and the House of Reps.
Right.
For the National Assembly, everything, there was no glitch.
Right.
And it was understandable that because we were testing our BVAS, the equipment that we use to accredit voters, we were testing it at the national level for the first time.
On the presidential.
On the presidential.
Okay.
We had done that at state level, and each subsequent election we had, there was a big improvement.
Okay.
We started, I think, in Nasarawa. There was one small election in Nasarawa, I think, was it 2020? And then after that, all the elections we conducted, governorships, senatorial, and so on and so forth, everything went on well.
Everything? How about Kogi State? Everything.
But you mean the Kogi State came after the general election.
Okay, yes,
off-season elections. All the off-season elections we conducted before the presidential. I mean, before the general election.
Right.
You know, whether it was at the Senate level, House of Assembly, and so on, the little by-elections.
Right.
And then the off-season election in Oshun, in Ekiti, and so on, they all went smoothly.
In fact, there was up
until that presidential.
Okay.
And the presidential was because we were testing that, and glitches happen. You know, sometimes people, I'm amazed when people make some, you know, grand claims. There was, I led the INEC team to you know, for the South African last general election, and there was a big glitch. We were all there in the hall,
right?
And people didn't say because there was that glitch, the election was a flop. You know, so in any case, the important thing was, you know, parties, at least any serious minded party, when you have an election, you have a situation room where, because of this IRF, that is the INEC result viewing portal, that way, every party, every person, no matter if you are in Alaska or wherever, you know, once you have access to that software, to that platform, you can see real life. You know, so they all had, but then for each polling unit, there is the hard copy. And every political party is supposed to have an agent at the polling unit, and we give them hard copies of that.
Okay.
So any serious-minded party will have a situation where they start collation. As a matter of fact, parties will know whether they won or lost long before we even finish our calculation, because in your own situation you will be adding up
already. Yeah, that's
precisely.
True. Okay. Well, the numbers are right there on your screen, so you can participate. You can ask him. He's right here for us. I think I have a caller already. Hello, good morning, caller.
Good morning, my sister. My name is Matthew Crawford from Haruna. Good morning, man.
I'll just say good morning. We have the INEC commissioner here. Oh, God's own sake.
That I've said on the newspaper,
right.
Look, this is something that is favorable to the masses, favorable to the downtrodden.
Right.
Because the elite knows it will affect them, because they are elite. That is why you see the elite trying to kill the bill. I pray with Psalm 126 that the bill will scale through.
Amen.
So that the elite should pay, we cannot buy a car of 40 million. You'll be paying tax of 50,000. Does it make sense?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make
okay,
sense.
but actually we've finished that topic right now. We're now on to another segment.
My main concern now is a do riot, a one-man squad that yesterday. The young man is a young man. He has a future. Anybody giving him secret to come and behave that way, the boy has forget his future, because the boy went and instructed the court that's supposed to see that it's very, very certain. The use of this president, you have not done to a weapon of mass destruction of their state, of their country. Very, very disheartening for the Nigerian youth. Good morning, Mazu Kapo.
Oh dear, Mazu, thank you very much.
Good morning.
God bless you. It's 126 too. Oh dear, Mazi is really worried about the direction our youths are taking, and that should be a note of warning, because even during the week we had these gruesome headlines about somebody who's supposed to be a gospel singer. He, you know, killed his girlfriend and then dismembered her, cut, beheaded. These kind of things. Youths, we don't expect that from you. So right now, as you know, we've changed our topic, and we're talking now about elections in INEC, and we have a federal commissioner from the Independent National Electoral Commissioner right here live in the studios, and he's here to interact with you. Okay, sir, I wanted to say, so a lot of Nigerians have also been making this suggestion that could the elections all be conducted the same day and not have it staggered? So we'll have like presidential, the governorship, everything the same day. You just issue, you know, the strips of ballot papers for the different elections and then collate everything all at once. Some people are wondering, would that be more helpful What's the position of INEC on that?
Well, INEC, we haven't taken a position on that yet because people are still debating it.
Yeah.
But again, just like with the local government election, this wouldn't be. There has always been a precedent.
Yeah.
There's nothing we haven't tried in Nigeria.
True.
We have conducted elections, all elections in one day.
Right.
There was a time we started with the beginning from the grassroots, local government first, then states, and then the national. Right. Then we reversed it. There is nothing we haven't tried.
Which is going to be
at the end of the day,
size fit all solution.
At the end of the day, the main problem is our attitude. Of course, structures matter, systems matter, and all that. But at the end of the day, even if you have the most, the best law you can think of, at the end of the day, laws don't implement themselves.
True.
Some people will do. And if those who are the stakeholders, they don't adhere strictly to what the rules are, there's a problem.
Right.
And of course, INEC is not the only stakeholder.
No.
Of course, we are the umpire. But if you ask me, I would say the even bigger stakeholders are the politicians themselves. And they are the key problem as far as
Yeah, because it's the person who has something to lose that's always, setting all the trouble, not the innocent voters. So I wanted to ask you, I know you're really very busy because by-elections are coming up, a governorship level in Anambra State. But since you're in our studios already now, before you release the timetable, give us a little expo.
I can't give you
give us small expo.
Well, I can't give you an expo because, the commission has to take a decision first. Okay. And we haven't taken a decision on that. Yeah. But for Anambra, already we've published the timetable and schedule of activities. We've seen down that because the law says 360 days before that. Right. And I don't know, maybe within the next year or so, the current, his tenure, that is Professor Soludo, his tenure will expire. Right. So already we're expecting that perhaps maybe in March they will conduct their primaries. That is all the parties that are interested in the governorship of that state. They will conduct their primaries to throw up their candidates. Okay, so you've heard it there first here. It's March. It's going to be party primaries. Well, if you've been looking at the timetable. If you look at the timetable, it's there. Already, if you go to our website, you will find that the timetable is already there. Okay. Then we have, forget that, like I said, we have to be very balanced. Then we have another lovely headline here. It says INEC deletes 746 dead persons from the voter register. This is a scoop. This is magnificent. We want to give kudos to the INEC for doing that. I'm really curious. How did you get to find out? Because some, dishonest politician would have really jumped in on that. Well, this is fairly simple. I mean, the NPC is there, the National Population Commission. We work hand in glove with them. Okay. Because they are the official recorders of death and birth. Right. So we do that, and of course, we always tell our own staff, to have their eyes wide open. For in each state, they are able to find out, especially prominent people. But even other than that, even ordinary people, as much as possible, get information as to whether they are still alive or not. Right. And then of course, each time we do CVR, that is the continuous voters register, at the end of it, we always display it for claims and objections. Right. The objection part is for you to say this man shouldn't be on this, on this, and we do get some, although not as much as, because we expect the public to participate very, very actively. Right. Really scrutinize our list, and they do. Okay. But not as much as we wish. Expected them. Okay. And of course, once we've confirmed that somebody is dead, of course but we have to be very, very careful, because Nigerians are very, very creative. We've had instances where we were given a certificate of death, signed by a doctor, the family came and so on and so on. They all said during an election that the man was dead, so they were going to substitute the candidate, only for the man to turn up They say, I'm telling you that I'm alive. Politicians, the things they do, the extent they go to. And was it the man? He was actually alive? Yeah, he was alive. Goodness. So we have to, we are very, very careful. We don't take things at face value. Right. Talking about what you just mentioned, because right here on this station, we had to we attended your press briefing where, the rumor went around all over social media that
the INEC chairman, Mahmood Yakubu, was dead.
Again, that wouldn't be the first time. Sometimes I don't understand why people do such things. Clearly, it's malicious.
And it's fake
But that's
news.
not the first time. But there was a time we were going for election. I think it was in Anambra. This is for the current government that is on. And one in the social media, they said INEC chairman shot dead. We were in the airport waiting to take the flight.
So
in fact, I recall I think Bishop Kuka was around. We were all there, and he was worried. He was saying, "Call your family." He said, the chairman told him, "Just don't worry. The best answer to this is for people to see that I'm still alive." So as soon as we arrived away, because at that time you are going at the Anambra airport was not there, so we landed already. Of course, the press was there, probably expecting to see. I don't know. And he addressed the press conference, and that was the end of that.
Yes. Whoa. So, we're dedicated to giving people the correct information. And that's the beauty of mainstream media. Social media is unregulated. And anybody can just lie down in their house, sit on their pillow, and just send out a post. Forgetting it's going to go viral. And, we want to discourage.
This other one went viral.
Right.
And the painful thing about that was even after that, we had since he's coming, that is Professor Mahmood Yakubu, instituted quarterly meetings with some 4 key holders, key stakeholders in the election. Politicians, the civil society organizations, the media, and the security. We hold quarterly meetings with each and that time, immediately after that, we had a quarterly meeting. I don't remember now whether it was one of the CSOs or the media, in which he addressed the issue. People saw him, and he's still yet, the thing persisted. So eventually, his chief press secretary had to issue a statement that Professor Mahmood Yakubu is alive and well. As President Obasanjo was saying, Ide Kampe.
Not only Ide Kampe, we even had to carry the news that he wasn't, and then the rumor was that he died in a London hospital, and he said he hadn't been to London in so long a time, long years, and here he was in Abuja. That was just like you said, it slightly seemed to be on malice. Anyway, the numbers are coming up on the screen, so you can call in. We have limited time, so you want to call now and interact with him on any issue about maybe the upcoming by-elections or anything, your opinion on what INEC could do or what INEC has done so far and what you feel about it. So those are the numbers. Call. We're here to take your calls. Okay, I wanted to ask you, because you're always on the road, traveling. Do you always have to do like personal on-the-spot assessment, or is it something like one of the recs said they don't physically go to the field? They just stay in their offices, and then when
what do you mean? You mean for elections or what?
Like in elections, right? Do you have to physically be present in, like, you are handling like so many areas of your zone?
I'm surprised. I'm not sure any rep would even tell you that, because of course they are in their office on election day, but they do a lot of field work.
Election days, they said they
on election day, yes. But then people are out there, they're feeding him with all the reports and so on, because that's why the INEC operates at 3 levels. At the national level, where we make policy, that is members of the commission, the chairman himself and 12 other national commissioners. At the state level, the RECs, that is the resident electoral commissioners, like they are field commanders. They are there, the 36 states plus Abuja. And then the 3rd level is the local government, where we have the EOs, the electoral officers. So the EOs, of course, they have staff. On average, we have about 15 staff per local government. And on election day, of course, all these staff, they are fully engaged. But of course, on election day, we don't have enough staff to always conduct all of them, because altogether we don't have more than 15,000 staff. But on election, especially a general election, for instance, we recruit close to about the last one was close to 1.2 million, because you have to recruit for each polling unit, and we have 176 polling units. So for each polling unit, we recruit an average of 4 staff
All right.
the presiding officer, and 3 assistant presiding officers. So just do the arithmetic. And then we have collation officers, that is those that collect the results.
Yes.
And then of course we have the returning officer.
Yes.
For the presidency, the chief returning officer is the chairman himself.
Okay.
But for all the other elections, Senate, House, and so on and so forth, we recruit returning officers and collation officers from our universities.
Right, it's ad hoc staff.
They are all ad hoc staff. And we recruit during election day. It's really huge logistics. The number we recruit, the vehicles we use. You know, sometimes we even use human vehicle because there are some areas where you can't, even motorcycles cannot.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen some places like that, because I remember the time they had the first by Elsa election.
Okay.
Whoa! The logistics. They said the logistics were so tough, but at
especially
the end of the day,
for riverine areas.
Right. This was the riverine and then a mangrove swamp, wetland, all combined together. But in the end, they were able to find DSP Alamasia and announce. That's when Nigerians started twisting their tongue to get that name. Alamasia. Okay, good one for INEC there. So I wanted to ask you though, because you're the chairman of BOSTEC, Board of Survey and Technical Committee on Equipment Acquisition, and that's one of your INEC's 15 standing committees. So I wanted to ask you, what is your area there? What do they do?
Well, as you said, you already said we have 15 standing committees, and each of the 12 national commissioners head a committee. Okay. The chairman himself heads about 3 out of those 12 out of the 15 committees. You know, electoral, election and party monitoring. We have electoral operations. We have, of course, legal. All these committees are there, and each chairman. So we do a committee. We operate by a committee system. When an issue arises, the committee takes a look at it first. And the committee usually has the chair, the one of the national commissioners as a member, and then other as chairman of the committee. For instance, the POSTEC you mentioned, which is the Bureau for Technical Equipment Acquisition. I am the chairman. There are about 6 other national commissioners who are also members. So we are all distributed amongst the committees. So the issue comes up. It goes to the committee, it takes a look at it, takes an expert look at it. Then at the end of the day, they do a memo to the commission. And then the entire commission, that is the chairman and the 12 national commissioners, of course the secretary, the commission secretary is also there, and other staff, they will take a decision on it. So for BOSTEC, essentially what we do is it's supposed to supervise acquiring some technical equipment. It's essentially in charge of stores. Okay. So, you know, all the things, and of course stores, you know, they take custody of everything that we purchase. So that's essentially what my own committee does. Okay.
You know, but then having gone through all the pains, you know, you have to put down, you know, a memo, raise the finances, make sure the right equipment are in place, and getting everything ready. Then comes this issue all the time, repeated cycle of INEC headquarters getting burnt, you know, with all these equipment burnt down. What assurances do you have? I know that's a security issue. What assurances do you have from the security arm that this is not going to be recurrent? Well, is there nothing that, because like I said, I've noticed, like, if people seem to be making attempt after this phone, I've been far more careful about it. But for it to keep recurring, what are they saying to you to ensure this is not like, oh, it's time for election, oh, we're going to get the news that INEC headquarters in blah 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 state raised to powder?
Well, it's a cause for worry. Every vote counts. So when you burn down our office, you know, that's, especially a local government, that's big. But if we put things in context, you know, how many local governments get burned? We have 774, you know. So it's not to underplay the damage that kind of thing does. But, you know, overall it's not as terrible, you know, because it's not our national headquarters that gets one. Of course, we had issues, like for instance in Imo, close to the election, when we had, you know, and whole vehicles, so many things got burned. But somehow we were able to overcome it. For reason that it was an off-season election, so we could always go to neighboring states and so on to borrow. So for a general election, if this kind of thing happens, that would be terrible. But as much as possible, we try to see that it doesn't happen, and we work very, very closely with the police.
Right.
And of course, we have our own security outfits.
Right.
So we, as much as possible, we try to see that these things, they don't happen.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, some people when they are determined precisely.
Well, let's hope there are few of them in society. But come to think of it, beyond rumors, though, isn't that rather a very dangerous job? Have you ever been in life-threatening situations?
Certainly not me, and I don't think. But of course, we've had problems. I'm sure you will recall that one was really. Very, should I say, it was very widespread.
Yes.
When we had this election in Adama, and one of the national commissioners, he could have been killed.
Right.
Because thugs really beat him up. In fact, he had blood all over him. You know, but this kind of thing is rare.
Okay. I pray it's even, completely gone from us. So, then how do you the people who work in INEC, are they should I say, do they fall under MDAs? Or since it's Independent National Electoral Commission, are you like an MDA? Or are you still under some certain ministry?
The constitution is very clear. The INEC is not under anybody, not even under the presidency.
Okay.
That's why the word independent is there.
Okay.
And there are guarantees. For instance, a national commissioner, of course, and there's a lot of controversy about the method of appointing. People have been saying, no, it should be taken away from the presidency. I'm not sure if that is the solution, really. But the way it is that the president nominates, he sends it to the Senate. The Senate approves by 2/3 any nominee. But by the same way, if the president wants to fire a national commissioner, it has to go through the same thing.
Okay.
You have to go to the Senate, and the Senate has to accede by 2/3, which is pretty difficult.
Right.
So that independence is there.
Okay.
And then, of course, even financially, the law now has been amended to make sure that INEC, as much as well, in any case, right from the word go, we are under first charge. That is, we get our money directly.
Right. That's very
so we are not under any ministry. We are not even under the presidency.
Okay. So that is really good to know that the INEC's funds are first line charge.
They are first line charge.
People always say, anyway, the money's coming from the president, so he's going to dictate who's going to win. It's going to be hard to send out an incumbent. But we are all witnesses.
It's happened.
An incumbent president was sacked by an opposition party, so that cannot really be the correct thing. But I just wanted you to tell me, do you get the money when you ask for it, or do you have to, wait for a long cycle?
Well, with the 2022 electoral law, the funding improved.
Oh, it improved.
In the sense that a lot of the things, like they give us those machines that we bought, which of course has qualitatively added to the, improved the election. We were able to get the money in time to be able to buy all those things.
Right.
But the government itself election is not the only thing it does.
Okay.
So sometimes, for the routine things, we get our money quarterly.
Oh, okay.
Right. But when elections come, certain things you needed to do, like printing of ballot papers, for instance, we're able to get the money in fairly good time to be able to print all the ballot papers. And for the first time since INEC started, we printed all the ballot papers were printed and the result is locally.
Right. Yes, I remember that. And these are areas of
because
INEC that people don't really know about.
The problem, it wasn't that even before that there was no local capacity for printing. There was, but it's time management, because if you have only 3 months to be able to print, there is no printer in the world that will be able to give you. Right now, for instance, we have close to 93.5 million voters. that will be able to, because they have to source paper, source ink, and so on and so forth. So it's not easy. This time around, because we were able to print our timetable and schedule of activities a year before then, and we had the time to do the primaries, parties did the primaries, although some of them, as usual, waited until the last minute. But we got them in time.
Yes.
Once upon a time, for instance, they will bring their things and come to the gate of INEC, and physically they will be, signing and giving us, the names of nominees. But this time, because of improvement in technology, we started online. They would do everything and then send in the names, so nobody needed to come physically to INEC anymore. So all these improvements, and it was possible because it allows us, for us to be able to have enough time to print locally, and that was why we were able to do that.
Okay. I wanted to ask, all these new additions and these changes and alterations, are they generated from you, or are they generated from above? Is it you? Like, for instance, I recall that maybe in electoral circles, after a while, they'll change the electoral law. Is it you, INEC, that gives these inputs? Because if there's one area I want to say that I have seen an improvement, is this business of swearing somebody in small time, swear the person out. Did you seem so ugly? But with this new time lag and all that, which ensures all the what do they call it, tribunals to sit and do all that and all that. So once and you're doing the swearing and some of those are already dispensed with, I think these are really good ones. But who's generating the changes?
Well, you can generate law. Everybody can initiate.
Okay.
Members themselves can initiate. There are executive bills and so on and so forth. So as much as it's not just INEC. INEC, of course, they does take, because in the course of implementing, we see certain issues come up, and then we work hand in glove with the National Assembly and try to draw their attention to certain things. For instance, this one that I told you, that we are now able to publish. We published a timetable and schedule of activities 360 days, and these are some inputs from INEC itself. Yes. But others also make inputs. The political parties. So, but that's why all the time, all the stakeholders, we have to keep talking to each other and so on and so forth. Problems arise, we try to find solutions to them.
Okay. Okay, let's have the numbers on the screen. We'll take one last lucky caller. Pick the number right there, and we'll take your call. Just one call, because we're completely out of time. And see if you will react. And after that, we will have to pack our kaya, as they call it, and be out of the studio. You have very limited time. No, we don't have enough time for that. I am sorry to say. Oh, anyway, for those of you who actually called, I really appreciate it. I think what will happen then, I'll just ask the national chairman and the national... What did I say?
National.
Sorry. Okay, well, the next step, so please, the National Commissioner, to please give a last word to Nigerians concerning elections and electioneering. Special word to the politicians as well.
Well, to the general public, the thing is, don't sell your votes. It's a very big issue now that is coming up with people. It's not just the politicians that are, buying votes. People go out of their way to try and sell the votes, which is really bad. At the end of the day, you're selling your future. As for the politicians themselves, the problem we always have for the politician, let them learn to, accept defeat, just like, because when they win, they say INEC is the best. When they lose, they say INEC is the most terrible, electoral body. But then it's not INEC. INEC is not the only actor. As I said at the beginning of this, in fact, for me, probably the biggest stakeholder are the politicians themselves. And if they don't behave properly, behave in accordance with the laws of the land, there will always be problems.
Right, so you've heard it right there from the National Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, talking about Mohammed Haruna, saying that all the stakeholders, you have a role to play. He's also let us know that please, when you take part in an election, play like a gallant player. Take it as a game. Do not say, oh, INEC is perfect when you win. INEC is useless when you lose. Be a good loser. Be also a good winner. Okay, on that note, I want to say a very big thank you to you for taking this time to come all the way to be live on our studios. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you very much for having me.
Alrighty, and those of you who stayed with us, thank you very, very much. That is as much as we can take on this extended package of the press this morning. I'm Mikki Attah, wishing you a fruitful, lovely, pleasant day. God bless. Bye-bye.